before they wrote it down. Little feet on rough floors, big dream in a small town. They tried to teach you fear, tried to sell you the fast lane, tried to pull you to the corner like a current in the rain. But you can hear it calling right under all that noise. A purpose in your breathing, a power in your voice. Stay locked on a vision, don't let it drift away. What God put in your spirit will still be there today. So star, oh, you've come so far from where you started. Don't be afraid to let your light shine on the world. So star, oh, you've come so far from where you started. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid to let your light shine on the world. I've seen boys having babies too soon, trying to play grown, trying to build a whole house on a shaky stone. I've seen cousins in the powder haze, chasing what they lost. One more hit, one more lie, in the morning pays the cost. But focus is a weapon, sharper than a blade. When you guard your mind, you can break the cage. Turn pain into a canvas, turn scars into art. Creation is the language, talking straight from heart. Stay on what you came for, don't trade it for the crowd. Every time you say yes to your gift, it gets loud. The work can feel lonely, but the bloom don't lie. But you making the fires how you learn to fly. So star, oh, you've come so far from where you started. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid to let your light shine on the world. So star, oh, you've come so far from where you started. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid to let your light shine on the world. You was never random, you was placed right here. Through the fights and the pressure, through the shame and fear, keep your hands on the vision, keep your eyes on the rise. Every act of creation is God in your life. You've come so far from where you started. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid to let your light shine on the world. So star, oh, you've come so far from where you started. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid to let your light shine on the world. So star, oh, you've come so far from where you started. Don't be afraid to let your light shine on the world.
Yup. Yup. So apparently, YouTube is pissed at your boy. They didn't like all of that vaccine videos connected to autism I did last week. They hated it. So now they're punishing me. It doesn't really matter because today's like my last show on this channel. So it doesn't really matter. But being that it is the last day, we might as well go out all the way out. I think in the past I danced around some ideas because I wanted people to be able to accept the reality, their reality. So I danced around the topics so I can meet people at their level, to try to get them to understand what is happening universally, what is happening globally. I don't know what's happening universally. In my opinion, let's say that. In my opinion, there's a humanoid species down here, or someone, a group that appears to have the ability to appear Homo sapiens sapien, but are clearly not the same as everyone else. But it seems that they have an advantage. And I say this, I don't care about scientific proof and all that other stuff today, because I think I've done enough shows showing that science doesn't always have the answers either. But it is great. It was kind of genius for them to hide within the science communities to protect them from people asking questions, rational and logical questions, right? That's a good, if you're going to hide behind any community, definitely hide behind them. However, I cannot say why this is so time consuming, the way that the Homo sapiens sapien is being attacked genetically. Their behavior is being modified. Their cognition is being dumbed down. Right? It's almost like they don't want you to know anything at all. And we now have the ability to look back 2 generations and see how this is affecting humanity. So what's going to happen in another 3 generations? If this type of tactic is continued to be used on the Homo sapiens sapien, they're in big trouble. So I can't really say how long today's show is going to be, because I'm just playing audio from different conversations, different teachers. I considered Jordan Maxwell a teacher. He was a student of Manny P. Hall. Manny P. Hall was incredibly knowledgeable. I'll add Billy Carson in there today. Some Alex Jones was in there today. However, I don't think I want to start with any of those things. I want to start with an announcement made by clearly the White House about some tick business that's going down. Hold on one second. Yeah, let's get that going right there.
It's not exactly related to this, but it is a disease that seems to be increasing, that prevents people from being able to reach a healthy nutrition, and that's the rise of this alpha-gal syndrome. That is a tick-borne disease. Last month, Joe Rogan and Congressman Tim Burchett were talking about the increase of it, and even these social media reports of farmers finding boxes of ticks on their farms. They're unsubstantiated, but I'm wondering if this is something you're looking into, whether you've reached out to those farmers. And
first of all, let's start with the fact I just don't trust anybody in government. Now, that's a blanket statement, and it's like, nah, they're all not bad news. And I know that. But when they get to this level, when they get to the levels where they can really make decisions that affect everyone, I do believe in the Jesuit conspiracy, by the way. I do believe in the Jesuit conspiracy. But the Jesuits are so dangerous, in my opinion, that because they literally have people on both sides of the argument. That's wild. They have people fighting against something, and then they have another group fighting against that, what the other group is fighting against. Mass confusion. And, you know, another thing that would throw people off, perception, right? Because you see a person in a suit, number one. They're clean. They're not filthy. If they have a resume, a professional resume, an academic resume, that even makes them more distinguishable, right? Patterns. We start to recognize certain people as experts. We start to recognize people as professional. Because they have a suit and they have the ability to finish a program. Because they are able to articulate themselves in a certain way. We come to a conclusion that these people, they're probably all right. Probably doing what they said they were going to do. Especially if they were given top secret clearance. Then surely these are trustable people. I'm going to go with my gut. Say no, don't trust them. Because humans can't be trusted because they usually have a weak spot somewhere. It could be a family member, right? Yo, if you don't do this, we're going to do this to your family member. Never mind you. We're going to do this to your family member. It could be anything, right? But when I see people renege over and over again on their principles, I seen it. Trump's whole cabinet. It was just crazy. His whole cabinet. Robert Kennedy Jr. I did not expect this type of behavior from him. But he compromised, right? Because he didn't have that same energy for MMR when he was before he was in Trump's cabinet. It was a totally different tune. Hey, here's a scenario. Here's something to think about. Maybe he could have gotten into the government and some other scientists gave him new information and he was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. But he seemed pretty well informed before. Some people think he didn't, but these people didn't even read his book. He seemed pretty well informed before. In fact, I don't think he got to this stage and changed his mind because it was new evidence that was submitted. And if that was the case, I would applaud that because that's what you should do. If new evidence is submitted, you should reconsider it. But that's not what I think happened. I do think what happened was the machine was way too powerful for him. Can you beat out Big Pharma at the end of the day? Right? Let's keep it real. Is there a possibility that Big Pharma has enough money to hire mercentiles, hire old Navy SEALs? Hell yeah. Create their own little armies, their own league of assassins. Can they do this? I'm not saying they are doing this, But I'm having a philosophical conversation with you guys right now. Can they do it? Do they have the money to finance such a thing? They do. Shout out to Roby that came in. He left. He had to go somewhere. Uncle Andy's in the house. Uncle Andy says women in the 70s and 80s were much more healthier now than they're mostly heavy. He's out here critiquing fat women. That's crazy talk, nigga. Shout out to the fat girls. That's number one. I don't know what Uncle Andy's talking about. You understand? He's talking like that now because it's getting warmer. He'll be back in the winter. Just hang around aisle 7. He'll be back. Hey, Andy. He'll be back. It's just getting warm outside. You understand? He's feeling himself. Uncle Andy, everybody was healthier. Everybody was healthier in the 60s, 70s, bro. So I don't understand why we're not looking at. They're literally using us as guinea pigs. I can't say whatever I want on YouTube because YouTube is owned by Google, and Google is owned by Alphabet, and Alphabet has a plethora of different pharmaceutical companies in its portfolio. So therefore, they're very stringent on conversations about health and conversations about inoculation, conversations about medicines. Medicines, by the way, were something John D. Rockefeller turned into a what can I say? He turned it into without being far out there, off the wall conspiracy. As far as his background goes, his father was a snake oil salesman and a hustler, right? And who did, like, he was wild. He just kind of took off when he wanted to, came back when he wanted to, that type of stuff, right? He would hustle his own kids out of money, right? So, like, telling them this is a lesson to you. Rockefeller's mother taught him how to really save a dollar, really be tight with a penny, right? She instilled that into him. So as a young age, when he began to loan out certain money and he at the price of, you know, interest, and he's seen like he would rent things at the price of interest, and when he's seen the money from that, he's like, oh, okay. I guess the business light bulb went off. At this time, though, there's not a lot of mass distraction going on, right? Not a lot of TV, radio program. None of that stuff exists yet, right? So you really, I would have loved to hear a black man talk back then. I don't even know if Ebonics was a full-fledged thing back then, because we emulate what we see and hear. If no one else is talking Ebonics, these black people might have spoke the king's language for all we know. I don't know. However, Rockefeller, you know, you guys know the story. He went to work for a while, and some investments into the Standard Oil Company. Think about the Standard Oil Company. Well, him running it. When he found out that you could use the petroleum for different things, just like now, they'll tell you, if you're listening and you're paying attention, they're going to tell you how many things, by holding up the oil tankers in the Hormuz Strait, what industries this is affecting, right? They'll let you know. Yo, this is affecting everything from fertilizer to plastics to medicine. It affects everything. Now, I can understand being ambitious and like, yo, I don't want nobody to ever, whatever I built is for my family and I want them to stay on top. I can understand that. But at the rate of harming the rest of the world, I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I don't understand, yo, my family has to stay on top no matter what, even if it means people dying. I don't understand that. Most people did not read Rockefeller Medicine Men. If they did, they would have a good understanding of the strategy used to indoctrinate it was bigger than this. I don't even know the word, because it was also precedent. So he was creating a framework. He was creating a framework for not religion, education. Education was young at this time, so there was something called a General Education Board. But this is pre the Board of Education. It's called the General Education Board. He funded that General Education Board. Everything that he did had a big impact on how we're living today. Everything that he did, including health, mainly health, but including health, education. So when I look today and I see how dumb people are, I said, damn, yes, damn. It worked. Sadly, it worked. And I can't fight. I can't fight against that much ignorance. And it's a mixed bag of ignorance. There's an educated ignorance, right? There's an educated on, I know what I know from this perspective. These are your people who are members of science. I know what I know from science and science says, right? These are your members in religion. I know what I know from this book. The Bible says this, therefore you're wrong. Science says this, therefore you're wrong. Until it's not wrong. That's the stupid thing about science. They can be wrong amongst themselves and say, oh, well, we now discovered. But anytime you were questioning them before they themselves come to their own conclusion and be like, yo, I think you're wrong, they will dog you out. And they have the communities behind them. They have the money behind them. Everyone's running around so dogmatic without a fucking clue. That's the crazy thing. You don't have a goddamn clue. Yeah, you know words. You know big words that you learn. Happy for you. You don't know what's going down. You have no idea how they're manipulating you. Then the cognitive dissonance is crazy. The amount of cognitive dissonance I run into up here. People that they can't believe that. They can't. Meanwhile, in real timing, they being rocked to goddamn sleep. In real fucking timing. Hold on. Let me see something here. Do I want to go to that one or do I want to go to this one? Let's just start here. I didn't look for a lot of cases because my show is not even about that. I've read before that somehow these mosquitoes have been genetically engineered. Regulation of genetically engineered mosquitoes as a public health tool. Well, it would always come as some type of help, right? I guess it would be provided as a help mechanism. Genetically engineered mosquitoes. Genetically engineered sprays, different sprays you spray on the food that would genetically engineer whoever ate the food. They have that, right? They say it was a tool to help with a bug. I think it was a citrus bug. And when the bug ate it, they sprayed it on the plant. When the bug ate the plant, instead of killing it, it just killed off its reproduction abilities. It engineered its DNA so that it can no longer procreate. I'm like, what? You created this because the bug was eating our crops. So your best thought, you're telling me that your best idea was, hey, let's spray it on the food so when the bug eats it, now the bug can't reproduce. That was your best idea. These are the smartest minds that we have working with us and for us. This is the famous Bill Gates. He created this. When I say create, let's be clear. I don't know what Bill creates more than he finances. Right? I don't even know if he created Microsoft Word. There's some back and forth about that. I don't really know. Some say he stole it. It's neither here nor there. I'm not concerned about that. I'm more concerned about him getting bored in that industry and thinking, what else can I do right now that'll keep me interested? And then the answer is so diabolical. I'll get into vaccines. Why, sir? Have you ever heard of cornball? Can I interest you in a game of pity pat on tongue? Not cornball, cornhole. That's a crazy name for a game too. Like cornhole? It's neither here nor there. I don't know who's not going to take the money at the end of the day. I don't know who's not going to take the money at the end of the day. I think everybody has a price. And if they don't have a price, I think they'll have a situation. So they may not do it for money. They may say, no, I told you before, money's off. I'm okay. You have some people like that. Then the next answer is going to be, all right, well, we got to step it up, unfortunately, right? And then that can just get diabolical, and it has. To sit back and watch this man, that's how you know he's goddamn powerful on this earth. You watch him do all the most craziest, insane things. And I'm just not even just talking about engineering a bunch of mosquitoes and releasing them to the public. Even before that, when he tried to block out the fucking sun. It's like, yes, bring all your scientists together And so they can spew whatever fucking silly ass nonsense they're gonna tell us about. No, he only did this because of global warming. Shut up. Shut your mouth. Robert McNamara went and got the goddamn whiz kids. Brought them to the Pentagon so they could figure things out. I can tell you right now, I don't even know if that was going to come up on their list of things to do for global warming, but it would not have been in the top 10 things. They would have figured out so many things to do before they settled on, hey, why don't we just block out the sun, Vato? Block out the sun. Puta, what you talking about? Yeah, Holmes, you can block out the sun, meter. What? Then to invest in the tools to actually do it and try it is fucking diabolical. You know what's more diabolical? Whoever allowed them to do it. So we've been watching things fall apart for quite some time. Me, myself, this is what I'm hoping. I'm really hoping that the black people they show me on my devices are a small group of people of blacks. And that the blacks like myself who are taking this shit serious, there's a large number of us. That's what I'm hoping. These are your blacks who's going to get guns, who's going to get land, who's going to prepare for what's coming down the pipeline. My mother just moved back out from the city to the country. She said, something's coming. I said, I know. Here's the thing. I understand not being serious every day, right? It's not built for you, right? Oh, you too serious. I think these are some of the first people that's going to be taking the fuck up out of here. Dead serious. Dead fucking. The people that want to joke all the time, they gotta feel, just chill out sometimes. There's no need for all of that. These are the people who guys gonna get sacrificed first. It's all about feel good with these people. It's all this fucking joke in a game. We're watching a man genetically modify fucking ticks. New diseases are being created, and we're all sitting around like we don't know where these things are coming from because we have to wait for the goddamn science community, who is a puppet for the elite narrative, right? Stupid ass members of the science community always think that, oh no, because look, it's the way science is designed. Shut up. Shut your fucking trap. The way science is designed is for you to spew the nonsense that you are spewing so that no one ever questions it. When the reality is, it can be truth mixed with lies. And the only thing worse than the truth or a lie is a fucking truth mixed with lies. Give me the truth. Give me a lie. Once you start giving me truth mixed with lies, so what I'm seeing down here is not only is there decrease in the level of cognition abilities that have previously in the past been higher than now, in my opinion. I can only say my opinion, but I'm pretty sure without going to the data. I don't think I need to go to data sets for this. This is the whole world, though. Right? People are just not as... People follow very fast. And then the amount of conversations I've had on this channel, including the Stanley Milgram experiment, where people were taught how to behaviorally engineer and how to crystallize the human mind, Edward Bernays style. Most of the world is indoctrinated, bro. This is why I'm ending the channel. First of all, it's not my platform. I don't own this platform. So I'm not fighting the power. I'm just really doing what I want to do because it makes me happy, right? But I can put that energy somewhere else. I appreciate this channel. I learned a lot on this channel by just trying to get the answers for you guys. I learned a lot. And I've heard enough. It's like, okay, I don't need to hear anymore. This is asinine. This is crazy. I'll be ending the channel today. But before we even do that, let's get back to these goddamn ticks.
Found whether they have alpha-gal, whether those tick boxes are real, whether they have alpha-gal. We do know that the World Economic Forum has hosted experts who do muse about using such a disease to reduce red meat consumption. Have you seen that? Have you heard of the reports?
I don't know who this girl is. This woman is in the front. She looks uninterested in his rhetoric. Lady in the back looks overly excited. Nobody else has a smile on their face. She does. She has a nervous smile.
That I'm referring to.
Our press team will get back to you on that one. We want to focus on today's announcement. Thank you for your question.
Oh.
Ah! God damn. Kicked in the face. I knew it. I knew it from the smug look on her face. Who is this? Caroline Levitz? Who is this?
Next one.
Do
you want? Okay.
Really quickly.
Okay. She's hiding behind the podium. We don't know what's going on until we do. Okay. I have no idea what's about to come out of his mouth. Jesus Christ. Come with it, RFK. Let's go.
We are, last week I went to New Hampshire to announce a series of programs to address this explosion of alpha-gal, and we're taking it very seriously. One of the epicenters is Martha's Vineyard, where 50% of the adult population is now affected. It is really a devastating disease. You can't.
50% of Martha's Vineyard is devastated by fucking tick disease? After, as you heard the man say, there's been all of these memes and reports that Bill Gates, who is not a fucking... He wasn't a medical expert. He was a technocrat who got bored. I mean, how at some point your software hits a ceiling. It hit the ceiling. He doesn't know what else to do. It's like, I think we've we've peaked. In fact, you have. You've drained everything you can get out of this whole Microsoft scandal. It's made you very rich. But once he dipped to like he wasn't the richest man in the world anymore, this drove him into an insane competitive nature. Like it just created a monster. This is when he gets into vaccines, because he figures everyone, if forced to, and we all know you create the situation and then you provide the solution. However, these are simple-minded, greedy people who don't know what they're doing. So, when we see television shows like the fucking Walking Dead and I Am Legend, I am confident that this will be because, one, not only because someone has figured out time travel and they've reported these things. I believe that. I'm not pushing that on everyone else who believe. Sounds crazy anyway, so I would not spew that to anyone else. I don't give a fuck what you think about me, so I can say that. I Am Legend, Walking Dead. How did they... I do believe these things will... The path we're going down right now, we're headed down a path where whatever turned these people into the Walking Dead, whatever turned these people into zombies, is becoming less unbelievable and more believable. And by the way, the CDC... the scientists, they're always involved in this somehow. In Walking Dead, it was the CDC who finally exposed, like, listen, it's gonna happen to everybody, right? And I Am Legend, he's a top tier scientist, and he's like, no, I caused this, I gotta fix it. How the fuck are you gonna fix it? Yeah, you can fix it in the movies, right? How are you gonna fix it? You expect these same people that bombed buildings with schoolgirls in them using AI, and then later on say, well, you know, the AI is not perfected. Was that the reason why? Or just your moral compass and your ethics are way off the fucking beaten path? RFK's wife, if you don't know, is Cheryl off of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David's wife, the woman who plays Larry David's wife on Curb Your Enthusiasm, Cheryl, that's RFK's real wife. And he loves her. I think he has a breaking point. I don't think it's money that's going to influence RFK. I don't know how much money he has. I just don't think it's going to be money. You could throw some money in his face and he's going to be like, yeah, I'll do it for that. But I do think he has a breaking point where he'll start to compromise and start to see things as he should. Now, whoever this woman here is, I don't know who she is. She's on my radar. And I'm not talking about sexually attracted or nothing like that. I'm just, the way she looks. She looked like she can be one of the people from V. The people who wore skin, but underneath their skin was reptile skin. That's how she looks. The woman next to her looks like she can just be a regular Homo sapien sapien. doesn't really know what's going on at all. Out the loop completely. You need some of those pawns around. This guy in the back, he knows of some things. He's looped in on some things, but not all and everything.
Eat red meat for the rest of your life. We are looking at medications that
I'm going to need this lady in the back to stop smiling so goddamn much. And I'm going to need her to stop looking so goddamn conspicuous. This is like a Jason Bourne film, just watching these people in the back.
that can serve as both prophylactics and also potentially cures for it. We're funding those studies now, and we're working with the companies that are making those. We're also launched a major effort on tick control.
This guy in the back has no lips. No lips. Just a thin sliver going across his face, like somebody cut it with a razor blade. And you're going to tell me this, we're all the same. No, you don't understand genetics. Shut up. Shut up. Not in the mood. Not today. Not today, puto. Not in the mood. Chose the wrong day for that nonsense.
Through a number of different strategies that address to your populations. The fact these are the 3 ticks that are causing these most of the
3 ticks. 3 goddamn ticks. What are you gonna do? You don't know what to do. Let's go over here. So, as they're engineering mosquitoes, this is the NIH.gov website. In recent years, genetically engineered mosquitoes have been proposed as a public health measure against the high incidence of mosquito-borne diseases among the poor in regions of the global south. That's always the case. Always the case that you want to use fucking the poorest people first. And this is why I'm saying, poor people, they're really talking, when they say poor people, they're not even talking about people from this country, right? They're really talking about other poor nations. But there's poor people here in America. Many of them, if you want my real opinion, I don't know. I've been going to a lot of poor white neighborhoods lately. I don't know who's the poorest in it. I don't know who's the poorest in America. I don't. I would love if a real study was done and then I could really see that data. I don't think we'll ever see that. I think people manipulate data too. They say, oh, the numbers don't lie. But people fucking do. So what are we talking about? So all I have is experience. And I do go through all type of ghettos. Black ghettos, white ghettos. Black ghettos, people would be poor as shit, but they'll go out and get something to master poverty. Because of universal law, this shit will never work. Right? You cannot go get a job, your first job, and you want to put on. I put on for the city. Put on for the city. Right? You want to put on, so you go get an expensive car that's out your budget. You trying to buy expensive clothes. just because of universal law, just because the laws of finance and mathematics, it's not going to work. You look good doing it, but that shit is not going to work. So I already know now. There's a lot of things that need to change. First, a mindset needs to change. That's the first thing that needs to change in the black community is the mindset. However, when you're talking to someone, you ever talk to somebody who had a narcotic habit, like they was hooked on drugs? Like, you could talk to you blue in the face, bro. None of that. They know how to, yeah, you're right. And they could agree with you. They have no fucking control over what happens when you leave their presence, right? The moment you leave, they could be giving BJs in the fucking back of the building. Yeah, you was right about everything. But this, I got an itch I need to fix right now. So, I say that to say, talking to my people about these things, that's already, they in the middle of ignorance. Yeah, one, they might not want to hear what the fuck I'm saying. It's a waste of time, right? I'm in this shit knee deep, Saladin. I listen to you sometime, but I'm gonna keep it real with you, bro. I'm in this shit knee deep. Can't just change what I got going on now. I don't know if I disagree with this person. You gotta go down with the ship. Right? I already told you what's gonna happen. You're gonna get sacrificed first. But at least you kept that shit real. And that's what mattered to you the most. That's not what matters to me the most. I don't give a shit about that. I'm just saying it's a struggle. It's not like you hear someone say something, you're like, yo, that's it. I'm headed in that direction now. No, it takes, first, is it knowledge that I'm getting from the person? Second, am I understanding the knowledge that I'm getting from the person? And then third, now I need the wisdom and the strength to do something about. You're going to need strength. Someone has been, obviously I wouldn't say who the person was, because I'm not saying it to make the person feel low or anything like that. Someone has been reaching out to me for money for like two years. I'm not good with time. I would say 2 years, and I've been giving them the money. But then I stopped giving them the money. But I told them before I stopped giving them the money, it was like, yo, you gotta go get a job. Like, you have to go get, and I told them what type of job to get that's always hiring. Go get a security guard license, right? They are always hiring. But you gotta go get, I don't know why the person feels like, but guess what? They were yesing me to death. Yeah, okay. And where can I get that? We're the same age. I'm only helping you because we went to high school together and you fucked up, and I don't want to see you fucked up. We're the same age. If I know where to go get, and that's the difference with me. People call me lucky. I don't know how the fuck I'm lucky, right? I do garner some favoritism, but even that is a science. If you start to understand your environment a little bit more, if you only understand your silo, your little bubble that you're in, but your desires go outside that bubble, then you got to push yourself. right? So you will no longer be a big wig in a small bubble anymore. You got to push yourself outside that bubble to where you're going to be a small person in this big old gigantic. But guess what? You're going to start to understand how this bubble works now. Push yourself outside of your own comfort zone, outside of your own thinking. Anyway, I had to stop completely, right? And a lot of times, I didn't always just give the person money. I had them. A lot of times I did, but I don't want to make it seem like the next part I'm telling you for a reason. Sometimes it was things that I needed done that I can't do. Yo, give you money for this. Go do this, and they did it. Right, so they earned that. They might have got too comfortable because at one point they was damn near making a salary off of me. But then my lifestyle changed, so I can't predicate my life off of that. Like, I got to keep on doing what's good for me. Then the person falls back into a slump. And I'm talking about fall. Lost the apartment. Then lost the car. They were sleeping in the car. Then they lost the car. Oh, God damn. At this point, I want to keep my distance because when it gets too crazy, I don't like to call it unlucky. We call it unlucky, but really what it is there's a rash of things going on that I don't want no parts of that energy. Because I believe that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. Well, guess what? You won't be transferring that shit over here. You take that shit somewhere else because, first of all, your frame of thinking is off. Right? That's what tells me. Now you got to go somewhere. I don't even want those electrons and to be transferred over this way. Keep that shit over there. Because I don't think you're trying. I don't think you're applying yourself. At this point, I don't think you're applying yourself. Because I've been in some rough spots. And it took me some time to get out, but God damn it, I got out. So this is why I say, don't say I'm fucking lucky. $2022? Was it 22? Some years go by so fast. I think I was in this house nutted as a bitch. Nutted. Or was it 23? Car broke. Car was complete. I didn't even have access to my car. It was in a fucking shop. No money. No credit card. All the way back down to the bottom. To the bottom. Feel like I'm going insane. Everything I'm trying, that shit is not fucking working. I got a master's degree. That shit is not working. The little that I was doing to get by, the Uber. First of all, when I was doing Uber, I said I never do Uber Eats. I kind of felt like this shit was beneath me a little bit, but bigger than all that, why? Why do I need to get out the car to go get your fucking food? And I'm not doing none of that shit. I will pick you up, right? I'm the type of person who's going to get into a situation and try to figure out, how do I 10x that shit? On some Grant Cardone shit. Like, I need to 10x this shit fast. How do I do this? So when I got into Uber, it was like, okay, how do I maximize my time here? Like, how do I maximize my earnings? And then I realized, yo, bringing people to the airport, you get that shit fast. Because of the tip, because of the distance, you're beating out the traffic. Like, there is no traffic. A lot of times when they trying to get to the airport, it's early in the mornings. So if you could do a couple of these right off the bat, boom. So then that's what I did. Then I realized, see, a lot of times, instead of you trying to figure the whole thing out, all you need to do is set your square, right? That first square that you laid out in the cornerstone needs to be in the right position, right? So you don't gotta figure out every last answer, but you need to be standing on your square, headed with a plan, at least headed in the right direction. Miraculously, life is you're gonna figure out the rest. Just keep some principles with you, what you will do, what you won't do, Bust it. Now that I'm like, yo, you gotta wake up early. I start waking up at like 1 in the morning to get to an area that's like an hour and a half away, then wait. And I was the first one to get the airport joints. Bring them out there. Then I would come right back to the spot, catch another one. Sometimes I catch fucking 3. Before you even got up to brush your teeth, I done made a good amount of money already. Then I discovered the pharmaceutical reps. Figured out where they be at, where they stay at in Jersey, and I would just hover around the fucking pharmaceutical. Why? Because they pay good money. They got enough money to pay. And they pay like they weigh. So even though it would end up being a 12-hour shift almost, by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I was really done. Right? I say all that to say, they took that shit away from me too. They took away my fucking Uber. And they left me with Uber Eats at first. They been took my Lyft. So I don't have access to Lyft. I couldn't do Carrier because a lot of these people use the same background. Mind you, I don't got no fucking felonies. That's what's even more bizarre. I don't have no fucking felonies. This is what's more fucking bizarre about this story. People like, yo, why they took your shit away? Well, keep your license clean. I will tell you that. Keep your license clean. However, the same thing I said I wouldn't do, that is all I had at one point. So I said, I guess I am doing this. That was painful. Fucking painful. Because I didn't have anything else. I was just doing Uber Eats. It was nasty work, right? Then they took Uber Eats from me. Oh, God. Where is this going? What are you doing? Took everything away from fucking everything. I say that to say, when the person told me how fucked they was in life, I just wanted the person to know. Like, I know what it's like to be messed up. I know that pressure, right? But you gotta react. You gotta get up. You gotta be proactive. You gotta get out here and do something like Outkast or the Goody Mob. You got to get up, get out, and do something. So because I didn't feel like this person was getting up, getting out, and doing something, I had to like, all right, just stay away. I need to protect my energy right now. Something is coming, and you're gonna be sacrificed. You're gonna be sacrificed. You better wake the fuck up. Now, most people will be sacrificed looking at this. In August 2016, the U.S. Food and Drug Agency approved the uncaged field trial of a GE Aedes aegypti mosquito in Key Haven, Florida. Really? Is this the same U.S. and drug administration that approved the fucking Oxycontin that everyone got addicted to and millions died? Is this the same Axel Foley? The FDA's decision was based on its assessment of the risk of the proposed experimental public health research project. The FDA is considered a global regulatory standard setter, so its approval of the uncaged field trial, could be used by proponents of genetically engineered mosquitoes to urge countries in the global south to permit the use of these biotechnologies. I don't know who's listening because I'm not looking at the numbers today, but I can tell you this. These people are not Homo sapiens sapien. And I believe here's the plan. The plan is for them to hide behind their mask, hide behind who they are so long. But by the time they do show their true identity, what can you do? You're already in a position where you don't have any jobs. You're genetically malnutrition, and you're compromised. You ever heard of a back door? They found a back door and a front door to your goddamn genetic code. They've gotten you to rely on not just a medicine. At first, it was like, okay, let's make them sick, and we won't even know how we're making them sick. Allegedly. Gotta say allegedly. Let's make them sick allegedly. Or let's make them sick. Or let's allegedly make them sick. Either way, it's all alleged. The people get sick. We don't find out years later, even though the Honorable Elijah Muhammad tells us that, it's the food. It's the food. Change your diet. The food is addictive at this point. And because these people are reading the same thing that we can read, so obviously they're going to read whatever Elijah would read. Oh, Elijah's over there telling them what we're doing. All right, make the food expensive. Make the healthy food expensive. So now you're like, okay, I read How to Eat to Live by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said to eat these things. All of a sudden, those things spike in price. And you can't figure out why, because you're like, wait a minute. You got a deal down here for like 8 burgers for $2. And I go try to get a bag of salad. That shit is like $17. What is going on? Well, they're telling you where to turn without telling you where to turn, right? So if they provide how much income you have, they kind of know what you're going to spend your money on, what you got to spend your money on, and what you do not have money to spend on, right? So there's an Nietzsche suit, some rhinestones, more than likely to go get dumb shits, right? Some new 23s that's coming out. Yeah. Not so much focus on healthy eating, you will fall victim to health issues. At some point, you're going to take the health issue serious, and then you're going to come to the doctors that we have trained, and they're going to tell you to take one of these products that we've made up here. They look like good people, right? They're clean. Obviously, they've been through some type of reputable, credible program to be out here telling other people what to take in order to get better. You're going to trust them. And in fact, whatever they give you will have an adverse effect that they don't want to talk about. And it will get you sick some other way. My grandmammy told me, don't take the white man's medicine. She told me that on her deathbed. Do not take the white man's medicine, and I don't. And my wife is always giving me shit about it. Oh, you don't take anything they give you. No, I go there to find out what their machines have found. Right? I don't have the equipment, but a lot of times I don't need the equipment per se to find out really what's going on. I can feel that shit. I know when I'm not eating right. My crazy ass doctor was excited as a... She was excited. She said, oh, you're almost there. You almost got the diabetes. You should have it by next week. Listen, lady. I hate to burst your bubble, but I could play with my numbers like a Rubik's Cube. I could play with them shits. And in fact, when I came back, I did not have the diabetes. Not only did I not have the diabetes, but my numbers went down. She was saddened by this because she had already counted that fucking Ozempic money. So you go ahead. You keep going on ahead listening to these dogmatic fucking people that follow the science blindly. And I bet these people have your legs spread eagle. Yeah. Where do I want to go next? Let's go here. Let's go to Uncle Jordan. Uncle Jordan Maxwell.
And listen to her and tell me if it doesn't run chills up and down your spine listening to this lady. She's very, very knowledgeable. She knew what she was talking about. And she's talking about the fact that when you hear people talking about these aliens, some of them being kind and good to us, etc., she said, you better go back and do your homework. This whole entire scenario of alien presence are entities from somewhere else who have come here into your planet, into your life.
I don't know if you can hear it because the audio is bad in this particular video. But he's saying, listen to the lady because these people who you're calling aliens, and I don't think they're the aliens. I'm going to be very honest with you. I think these people were here before you got here. Not only do I think they were here before you fucking got here, because you are a creation, in my belief. I'm not saying there weren't hominids on this planet before they got here, but clearly there's a story about genetically modifying the people that were already here, the entities that were already here. There's ancient stories of that.
And we don't know what their objective is and what their objects are. So it's foolish to think that any of them are dear and good and benefactors. We don't know who they are or where they've come from. undoubtedly people in government know, but they're not talking. Well, she found out a lot, and that's why she's dead. But as I said, Hollywood is telling us a lot of things about the world, and they put it into movies. And so the reptile alien has been around for a long time in TV shows, and even more so, this was in Time Machine. So reptile aliens, and then of course, as you know, in both V, the first movie V, and the second one.
And that's the girl I was talking about that's sitting up there doing Caroline Levitt's job. Caroline was pregnant the last time I checked. That's what's going on. She was pregnant. Anyway, the girl with the short hairdo, she's up there looking like this character.
These were reptile aliens who presented themselves as beautiful people, highly intelligent, very highly advanced, and the humans were taken in by them, humans wanting to be on the side of the winners. So, and if you remember, I talked about the dawn of a new day in one of my videos, and in the
He just said something that I don't want you to go over your head. Humans that decided they wanted to be on the right side. You know what would happen if fucking 4 reptiles showed up to your house dressed like humans and revealed themselves and told you that something's going to go down, but they've been watching you very closely and they accept you. They approve of you. And they assure you that when it goes down, the Homo sapiens don't have a fucking chance. They don't have a chance in hell. And your best bet is just to side with us. We'll give you some things to do, some things to say, but just side with us, because the humans are not going to make it. They're too far gone. The ones that we don't have mentally, the ones that we have not mentally derailed, the others physically we have derailed. Some both. We've physically and mentally malfunctioned these people. But the crazy thing is they have no idea how weakened they are by our indoctrination. They don't even know that. So just side with us. And I believe many people are doing this. Many people in government, many people in academia, many people, independent scholars. There's still a good group of people that have not joined with anybody, though.
And in V, the second one, they talk about exactly what I was saying they were going to say. They said in V that there was a dawn of a new day in which the whole world was coming under a new world order. And I've said for years that the symbol for the new world order was the dawn of a new day. And the video came out and talked about that months before this came out. So there is something to the idea that Hollywood and government, military, are totally aware that there is an alien connection going on right now in point of fact, and Hollywood is putting it out into movies, military is doing it undercover, and government is acting like there's nothing to it at all. But I think that there's something very, very frightening going on. I think we are being invaded. The whole concept that the reptile aliens look like humans. Well, that's not new. I mean, that's even in the Bible. The Bible says God made man in his own image and likeness. And I've talked to so many rabbis about this subject. First of all, the word God in the Bible, in Genesis 1:1, when it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, the word God is Elohim. It's a feminine plural. It's not one God. It's gods, more than one. And then when you get into what kind of gods, well, they were supposedly, according to Hebrews, they had scales. They were scaly gods, the Elohim, who created us. So, and we could talk about that too. I've got a lot of stuff on that. But the whole idea is that these reptile aliens are in motion pictures. They're in sci-fi magazines. Of course, they're everywhere.
Look at the lips on these fucking people.
The word God is Elohim. It's a feminine plural. It's not one God. It's gods, more than one. And then when you get into what kind of gods, well, they were supposedly, according to Hebrews, they had scales. They were scaly gods, the Elohim, who created us. So, and we could talk about that too. I've got a lot of stuff on that. But the whole idea is that these reptile aliens are in motion.
Look at the lips. This is slither.
Motion pictures. They're in sci-fi magazines.
This is slither going across the face. Just like some of the people I've pointed out up here. Just a slither. This is slit open across the face. No full lips.
Of course, they're everywhere. And almost all of them have a ridge on their skulls. A raised flange or a ridge on their heads. I thought that was interesting a long time ago, and I picked up on that and started doing some research on that. That this ridge or this raised part on the head of the skull. I mean, all of our stories coming out of the Bible showing reptile aliens. So, you know, we got a hell of a long past of humans' intervention with aliens. Here in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, you'll see the serpent is upright, standing upright, conversing with Eve. Alien into action and into play between aliens and humans. One Hebrew Jewish source on the Bible says, were Adam and Eve human? We're all familiar with the Old Testament account of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and how they ate the forbidden fruit. But what is not widely known is that there were other ancient religious documents that describe this event and tell us of a different and startling story. And the Jewish writings, the Haggadah, the wellspring of Jewish oral tradition, says the first result was that Adam and Eve became naked before their bodies had been overlaid with a horny skin and enveloped in a cloud of glory. And then it goes on to say, no sooner had they violated the command given them, then the cloud of glory, then their horny skin dropped from them. And it talks about the second quote was from another source. This was a Christian Gnostic text. Talks about how now Eve believed the words of the serpent. She looked at the tree, and she took some time. She took some of its fruit and ate, and she gave her husband also, and he ate too. Then their mind opened, and they ate, and the light of knowledge shone for them. They knew that they were naked in regard to knowledge. And when they saw their makers, they loathed them. Since they were beastly forms, they understood very much. So even in the old Gnostic Christian text talking about the makers or the creators of mankind were beastly in form. And if that's the case, then we were made the image and likeness of our Creator. And so when we were made, the Jewish writings say we had horny skins. So, and so the ancient world always showed kings and rulers and princes connected to serpents, serpent queens. Some of the scientific books are theorizing if the dinosaurs somehow or another were able to evolve into other kind of creatures over millions of years. So Lawrence Gardner wrote quite a few books, large books about the bloodlines of the Holy Grail, about Jesus' bloodlines, etc. And very famous author, and I knew him well. We did some lectures together. Well, I found out later that Nicholas de Very was a co-author in Europe with Sir Lawrence Gardner. But Lawrence Gardner didn't tell Americans that most of the knowledge that Lawrence Gardner was bringing out in his books that we were reading here about the bloodlines of the royalty of Europe and the royalty of the bloodlines of Jesus and all that kind of thing, he was getting a lot of his information from Nicholas de Very, who was a Grand Master in the Dragon's Court in Europe, a secret society, a very powerful ancient old order where they worshiped the dragon, the reptile alien gods. And this is a very legitimate society. And this is what was his name? And they called him Vlad the Impaler. Who was this? What was the term they gave him? Dracula. Dracula was actually a real man. He was a prince, and he was very bloodthirsty. And but he belonged to, and at the time, Dracula was the head of the Dragon's Court. Today, Nicholas de Very is the head of the Dragon's Court. And so Nicholas talks about, his book is called The Dragon's Legacy, The Secret History of the Ancient Bloodlines. And on the bottom it says he's a Grand Master, Imperial Royal Dragon's Court.
So that's Nicholas de Very. Nicholas, Nicholas, de, D-E, and it looks like V-E-R-E. So day is one word, then very is a third word. Nicholas de Very.
And so, as I said, he writes a lot about the concept of the reptile aliens who had ruled Europe behind the scenes. Wouldn't surprise me. Of course, in statues all over the world, statues of aliens, reptile aliens. I saw this one in England when I was in England speaking on tour. I went to a UFO exhibit. This guy had an incredible museum of all kinds of reptile aliens, and on the back wall he would have the quotes from the reference books, from the Bible and reference books, describing, what you were seeing. So it wasn't like he was making these up, he was just showing you where this information came from, and then design creatures that looked like what was on the document. And you see the connection between the ancient reptile dinosaurs and what the human evolved could possibly look like. And as I said, there are statues all over Europe implying that humans are being dominated by reptile aliens.
Statues is crazy. But there are statues. I've seen them. I've been to pyramids in Guatemala with the dragon's face on it. Embedded in these flying serpents embedded in the pyramid.
Quetzalcoatl, also pictured as a reptile in Mexico. This is in, I think it's in Finland. The eyes of reptile aliens, reptiles, first of all, reptile eyes. The large eye aliens that we are told that the ancient people made statues of these alien creatures they said they saw. Here's one from Kosovo, going back to the Neolithic period. You see it looks like an alien with the skin, the eyes. Why would these ancient people make representation of these creatures that they saw and they look like reptiles? Well, because they very well might have been reptiles. This is from Sumeria, the old Babylonian, Akkadian, Sumeria area of the world, Middle East. quite literally a reptile head, reptile eyes. And Lord of the Rings makes the reptile eyes. That's pretty extraordinary stuff when you think about the possibility that maybe there have been for thousands of years before humans were on the earth, this may have been inhabited by a reptilian race. The human brain, between the two lobes of the human brain, down the middle, there is something called the reptilian brain. I've talked to doctors about this, and they say, yeah, that's the correct term that's used. There's a part of the human brain between the two lobes in the middle called the reptilian brain. And they say that when a human is developing in the womb, that it develops like a reptile. It has a tail, it has all the accoutrements of a reptile, lizard, or whatever, and then it begins to fill out and become more human. But when it's actually in the formative stages, it looks like a reptile. And then, of course, we have a reptile complex in the brain. It's called the reptilian complex in the brain. So, you got to wonder, why would science and medical science call this area in the brain the reptilian? Also in comic magazines.
Stop there. Stop there. I see that Winter came in the building. Salute to Winter. Uncle Andy had to go. I want to play a little bit something. Let me play something else real quick before I get up out of here. A couple of things I need to play. Let's go ahead and do this.
So this is what they said thousands of years ago was going on, and it just keeps adding and adding and adding. It's not just this new ground penetrating radar. That just fits in everything else has been found. So Billy Carson's been doing a great job for years. That clip you just saw was from 9 months ago before this new information came out. He was on with us in August of last year talking about all this. So it's not like we're just looking at this and saying, oh, look, it's real because of this. You can say, oh, well, their scans are wrong. No, this is what they've been saying for thousands of years. So Billy, forbiddenknowledge.com, Forbidden Knowledge on X. Great to have you here, my friend. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start by, first of all, thank you for having me back, Alex. I really appreciate your show, man. The quality of your work is unmatched. I'd like to start with, let's debunk the debunkers, because there are some, Zahi Hawass out of Egypt immediately, before looking at any data, tried to say, oh, no, we don't have any evidence of this. And so right away, he tried to hush it and oppress it like he does with everything, probably so he could steal the information and put his name on it later, and label it an actual discovery so he can get paid. However, so critics are trying to say that, synthetic aperture radar or SAR radar can't scan that deep beneath the earth, because we're talking about 2 kilometers beneath Giza. So, but they don't understand, this isn't standard SAR technology. It's like it's unlike any other ground penetrating radar that we've ever seen. It's called Biondi's SAR technology, named after the Italian researcher and scientist Biondi. The SAR technology actually employs something called X-band microwaves that have a 10 gigahertz band at 3 centimeters wavelength. Now, this allows it to penetrate from a satellite in space all the way down deep beneath the earth. But what it does is it doesn't penetrate through the rock. It picks up the vibrations that are happening deep, deep, deep underground. And from the vibrations, right, it detects the subtle surface vibrations and minute shivers, which triggers a resonance response. And this allows it to go deep into special voids that nothing else can ever get to, below or even beneath walls. And as it rides back up these vibrations, it allows it to read all the actual structures and empty spaces. So it sends the data back to the computer, and now it becomes this super advanced level of Doppler. And now we can see everything going on beneath there, and what's down there is exactly what was predicted in my book 5.5 years ago, The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, which I have on page 34, a depiction or a rendering of this deep underground city, which is almost identical to what they discovered just recently.
Well, I mean, it's just amazing. And again, I did read your book after I had you on. It was fascinating. Why don't you first start with the legends, the different cultures that told us this, and then big picture around the world, and then what the ancients said, because you've got people thousands of miles away, the same legends, the same stories, and a lot of this is in the first book of the Bible, it's in Ezekiel, and then it's in all these other cultures. And then what was Egypt in this system?
Yeah, Egypt, if you go to ancient Egypt, start there first, since this is where the discovery came from. We know that the Egyptians, they claim that this man named Thoth, Thoth, ruled over them for 16,000 years. That's them saying it, not me, right? So they say this guy had advanced knowledge. He was the bringer of thought. As a matter of fact, thought is supposedly named after his name, thought, wisdom. And he did this in the land of Kemet before it was called Egypt, and that's where we get alchemy, is from him as well. Now, supposedly, according to this man, Thoth, he says he was the author of the Emerald Tablets. He also claims to have been in that tablet. He says, I am the builder of the Great Pyramid, patterned after Earth's force, so that it too might remain through the ages. So he claims to be the master architect of the Great Pyramid. Now, here's where it gets crazy. In this writing, he talks about something called the Halls of Amenti, that there wasn't just one Halls of Amenti, there were many, and there's different people that had this knowledge, had access to them. And this was deep, deep, deep beneath the pyramids of Giza. And that down there was this massive area with these halls that went on for a very vast area. And according to this text, it's right, because this thing down there is so vast, it can hold 64,000 people if we put people in it to fill it up. Just give you an idea of how big this thing is. And he said he had down there rejuvenation chambers that would allow him to rejuvenate his bodies. He had many, according to the text. He says he had bodies. He would put one in these chambers for 100 years at a time, and then he would walk amongst men, but unlike a man.
And then they made movies out of this after you and others exposed it, like Dark Adam or Black Adam. When I saw it, but the point is that that's all based on those legends.
It's all based on the legends. They have the same legends going on in Europe. You have, the Greeks, and they talk about this. You have the Sumerians coming out of ancient Mesopotamia. They have halls of Amenti. They have these underground chambers. I just came from Turkey in September. I just came back from Turkey. I went down into Derinkuyu, an underground city that can hold up to 30,000 people with advanced air conditioning techniques built into it. These shafts that went for miles and to bring air to the deepest level. And then when you get to the bottom, there's underground tunnels that lead to hundreds of underground cities, all made with advanced technology. So we're talking about people that had super advanced knowledge, advanced wisdom, and advanced technology, and it was utilized over and over again by different cultures. For example, the people of late Mesopotamia went down there to save their lives from some type of a catastrophe, but they themselves didn't build these underground structures. And the fact that
remember the Romans talked about this all on record. Archimedes had a system with mirrors with lasers where he could burn ships up, and that was on record. And that's just fragments they had of what was done in the past.
Oh yeah, these people had advanced technology. We're now just trying to rediscover what happened in the ancient past. I mean, you talk about Ezekiel's wheel in the biblical text. It's an account of advanced beings having advanced technology and engaging a person that didn't see or have never seen or had been engaged by that level of technology before, right? So all of a sudden, it's like this person thinks that they might be talking directly to God, but these people take him to go meet somebody that potentially is God or whatever. So it's we don't understand that this version of human and our technology is not the end all be all. That in the past, there seems to have been an account of high level of civilizations in the past.
And it's well known, even in mainstream History Channel, Discovery Channel shows about the Egyptologists and the government. They are always trying to keep anybody from digging, anybody from looking. All the legends said there were all these big chambers and things. They said, no, they weren't. Then they keep finding more and more and more. They finally get into the chambers, as I said. There's footage of this we showed last week. And they say, oh, it's going to have tombs. And no, it doesn't. It's got big copper wires. We just lost your audio. Billy, you might have hit mute.
But let's
Yeah, there are artifacts in the Cairo Museum. And in this Cairo Museum, there are artifacts that look like what you see outside on your electric pole, like Tesla coils with actual wires coming out. Now, the wires are clipped, but the wires are still connected to this metallic device. They try to say it's a religious artifact. No, this thing clearly transmitted energy. Now, we know the ancient Egyptians, for example, had electricity because we have thousands of pieces of electroplated gold. So how did they electroplate gold without having electricity? We have depictions of the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, which I've been in the underground crypts. Depictions of actual technology connected to jets and cables, which would pick up electricity. We have now knowledge of this huge structure that can hold 64,000 people. This underground city underneath the Giza Plateau, underneath the pyramids, that is so large, the Burj Khalifa could sit next to it, and it would be taller than the Burj Khalifa, which is in Dubai, the tallest building in the world. The feat alone of digging that underground would be 10 times more difficult than building the Great Pyramid, 10 times more difficult. So we're talking about an engineering feat that is mind-blowing, and it should be on every mainstream channel right now. This should be the biggest news in the world.
Obviously, what we've been told in modern so-called history is not true. They're always admitting it's not true. And you've got all these mainline Christians that tell you everything in the Bible is literal, but then when you go, okay, well, Ezekiel and all these other books of the Bible, Genesis describes ships coming down, giants that lust after the women, breed with them.
Yes.
Now the bloodline of humans isn't correct, so God is angry and destroys us. So we were in the days of Noah, so we'll be in the day of the Son of Man, the Antichrist. Noah wasn't a perfect person, but he and his family were perfect in their genetic line. And then that's, as you mentioned, what is in all the other cultures have the same story in that area and then around the world. And now they found jade all over South and Central America and Southern North America in these different Mayan temples that they know come from Japan and China. So again, I mean, there's a lot we don't know. From your cobbling together what we do know, more and more of the legends, it turns out, are actually based in reality or partially. How far does this go back? How advanced was it? We know there's cave paintings in Scandinavia, in Africa, with all these different tribes describing creatures that were humanoid that came from the dog star. I mean, all of this.
Yeah. Well, listen, in my book, I wrote Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, right? In there, I claim, according to these ancient texts and this information, we're talking about 36 to 38,000 years ago. Now, when that information first came out, people were telling me I was crazy and this was no way and it couldn't be possible. And now these scientists, this team of scientists using satellite SAR technology, revolutionary technology on this planet, say 38,000 years is what they're estimating that this structure was when this structure was built. 38,000 years. So they're confirming and validating and venerating the work that I put in on this. If you look at the Great Sphinx located at Giza, and you look at the weathering in the enclosure, you can see clearly that the weathering shows it was underwater, the erosion of the stone around the Sphinx. This erosion dates back to, in my opinion, around 36 to 38,000 years. We have a few archaeologists that push that back to 13,000. But if you go back two processional periods, at the time that they're saying 13,000, not the right time to build a monument like that when there's chaos, and probably the Younger Dryas incident where a huge asteroid struck right above Syria and decimated the region and created global flooding. But you go back two more processional periods, you're right around the time that Thoth claims to have built the Emerald Tablets and have built the Great Pyramid and the structures surrounding it. The perfect time to build a civilization like this, when he claims he was rebuilding a golden age on this planet. So we're talking.
So, for nearly a few thousand years since Greek philosophy, we've been going in circles. We didn't have a good strategy. But today, I will present a new strategy, which is introduction of natural laws. On top of that, I will add my final touch so that finally it lets us cut free and start climbing the spider for a true understanding of consciousness. So, what is a natural law? Before, let me explain that for sure, the science of consciousness would preclude conventional science. This is because this is the very first time we attempt to decipher what is to be something, the first-person perspective, a subjective experience. But the interesting point here is that it doesn't necessarily mean that it is fully incompatible with conventional science. The point here is natural laws. So for example, Einstein's special relativity theory sits upon the foundation of constancy of light velocity. So very strange things happen. You may actually question whether this was true. But after we find out that this is the rule, there's no point in asking why. This is just how the universe works. So since consciousness science is protruding, it's for sure we need a new natural law. And the moment we admit this, the hard problem and the explanatory gap vanishes into thin haze. So let me try to put an example candidate natural law based on
what we were before that was the Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon man, or what these hominids were called. And now today we're a totally different kind of creature. And as I said, always depicting the stories in the Bible, God is always depicted as looking like a human. As a matter of fact, you know, it says that God walked in the cool of the evening with Adam. The very word Hebrew, and as it's used in the Bible, when it says God walked with Adam and Eve in the cool of the evening, the word walk is a Hebrew word which means you can hear the footsteps on leaves. You can hear the footsteps of somebody following you. That's what the Hebrew word implied. So when it says that God walked with Adam and Eve, the Hebrew word actually means you can hear him walking with you. He's walking behind you or walking next to you. So, I mean, it's not going to be some nebulous divine God in the sky. No, it's an actual God who's created, and he's walking with you in the garden. So God makes Adam. Here's a statue of Adam and God together. They both look like human. And then they said, the next one says, and God, the Lord God said, behold, man has become as one of us. So now once he's been remade, which is obviously saying that the gods have tampered with our DNA. They somehow or another procreated with us and crossbred with us, which is what Zecharia Sitchin and all these other writers that I have worked with are saying the same thing, that the gods have done something with us and changed our DNA and made us look more like they do. So now they...
And they still changing it. And they still changing it. And they still down here still changing it. I gotta just end this channel today. It's enough is enough. Hopefully I have inspired many to do some of their own research, because this is going to have to be an independent journey from here on out. But one thing I do want to put you on to before I end this channel, put you on to something. Put you onto a book. And may these books help you on your journey as I end this channel. This book is called Orwell's Electric Library. It was published in 1929. Electricity, Learning, Courses, Technology. You can get this book for like less than $10. I've seen it definitely less than $20. I like reading older books. A lot of times they told things that I don't think today they probably like, why do we say all of this? Apparently, this book teaches you how to create electricity. But it also helps you understand. Much of this type of science, if even taught in the school, what happens is they run through it so fast that they protect themselves by saying, no, we taught it. But there's no time to understand it for the student. Not only did Ordell write this book on electricity, but Ordell also wrote, now if I was you, can't say I never gave you nothing. He also wrote The Carpenter and Builder's Guide. I don't know where we're headed. I got a good idea. But if I was you, I would go ahead and get these books, beloved. If I was you, and I think this is my biggest gripe when it comes to America. We traded value for nothing. It was like, I can't even compare it to Jack and the Beanstalk. Because instead of instilling education in our students, just so you can see, John D. Rockefeller quote, I quote, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers, is widely attributed to John D. Rockefeller. I have a book, so I don't care what AI is talking about. I have a book. But that's the quote. Now, let's say he didn't say it. Let's just say, hey, Jamel, he never said that, and you're spewing misinformation. All right, I can apologize for spewing misinformation. Can you honestly look back? Can you look at from right now all the way back until his time and say that the education, the evidence of education within the citizens of the United States has not diminished. It's diminished. It has. I don't know who that is, but I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk, beloved. I'm on a focus right now. I don't want to talk, beloved. Huey's in the building. Kush is in the building. Kush, what are you doing? Kush is in the building. He's out there working hard for his family. Huey says, according to Bob Lazar, we were genetically modified by aliens and were containers. And we are containers that they harvest like cattle. I don't know about the last part. The reason I probably would not agree. Well, it depends how he's using containers, right? I do think we were genetically modified. So nothing. It's funny how people, when you bring up this genetically modification, that these ancient so-called entities, some of us think they did to us. You have a group of people saying, "Oh, it's poppycock. It's made up. You believe in that stuff?" And we can do that right now. Everything I'm telling you that they did before, we can do. It's not like I'm telling you something like I'm like the Wright brothers, like, yo, one day I'm going to be able to fly a cabin with wings. Yeah, okay. One day you'll fly a cabin with wings. Anyway, I got to go do some real work. Can't be sitting here dreaming all day. Right? No. Everything that we're suggesting today that they did yesterday, they can do today. They can clone people today. They can create hybrids like X-Men today. Why do you think these shows come out? Like Sweet Tooth. How many people are aware of Sweet Tooth on Netflix? Sweet Tooth. It's about a hybrid. It's about how the government created hybrid children and then they tried to keep them secret.
Once upon a time, bad people ruled the earth. They were greedy and self-destructive. So nature made everyone sick.
Excuse me?
It's crazy. They're telling us what they're going to do right in front of our face. Right in front of our face. Now, what we do understand is that me alone, I'm not powerful enough. I can't even control YouTube views. Anytime they want, they just say, you know what? We'll make you go from thousands to just less than 10 people. Fine, I don't care. Right? I have educated at least one person. And maybe that person may take action. Right? Prepare. You still have a little bit of time left. We probably don't have a lot of time. We have a little bit of time left. Enough, more than likely, if you got focused, you could probably put yourself in a decent situation. I'm not telling you to go get a gun to do something to the government. You don't have powerful guns to do anything towards them. Well, if they came to you, you would just have to figure it out. You don't have enough munition to deal with what they have. So that would be preposterous for me to even insinuate absurdities like that. However, there are going to be plenty of people who have not figured out what to do, and they may come for yours. And I think you have 1 or 2 bullets to spare on these people, or at least I hope you would have a couple of bullets to spare on these individuals. But again, we don't know how this is going to go. These people are playing with things they have no understanding of. And they want to be the first to do it, so they want to be the first to market. And by the way, who the fuck is going to pay for something if they don't have a job? So what is this all about, really? Can we continue to subsidize everything forever? Is this about the subsidizing of new technology? Who pays for the jobs are declining? Who are going to pay for these products? Right? You have software companies that's struggling with software as a service subscriptions right now. We call it SaaS, right? SaaS. Software as a service. And we have plenty of these. I was using one this morning. The music that came in with my intro, I made that music on the software as a service. Most of the things I do online is software as a service. However, I have to pay a monthly fee for that ability for that permission to be allowed to use their software. So you got all these softwares, and that's not the only technology. There's tons of different technologies in different fields. But if we're talking about biotechnology, okay, who's paying for this? Because a lot of industries are about to get rocked. We only know. It's about to get rocked. So people will be out of work. People are still going to try to survive because that's human instinct. I got to eat. And people will do a bunch of things that they never thought they would probably do to eat. I wanted to tell the person that was reaching out to me for money that I went to high school. I wanted to tell that person, you have to start selling your body. That's what you have to. Not to me, but you got to bust a move. You have to bust a move. But I won't not have to suggest this. This will happen anyway. That person will figure it out. Maybe when it's too late. If you sell it now, you could make possibly, if you know what you're doing, you could probably crank out a quarter of fucking meal. Get out the game and put that towards some land. You better do something, goddammit. Because they're telling us what they're going to do and what they have done. And right in our face. And because we have done nothing, it's implied that we're okay.
Bad people ruled the earth. They were greedy and self-destructive. So nature made everyone sick.
Excuse me? Are you a doctor?
And then a miracle happened.
A miracle happened. White people, you gotta stop with this bullshit. You gotta fucking stop with. Don't. Don't. Don't instigate these type of dumbass conversations. Then a miracle happen. It's not a fucking miracle. That's number one. So because you see babies, they're mutant babies. Granted, I'm probably a mutant. Obviously, some type of hominoid mixed with some reptilian and Lyran. I'm sure of it. I'm sure there's a whole. There was a council and a committee that got together and designed the what we call the Homo sapiens sapien. And now we're doing it again. So when they created the comic The X-Men, that's a real fucking thing. They really have the ability to edit DNA and create the type of human that they want.
They called them hybrids. Your kind. It's your job to live a full life. But some bad people are still out there, Gus. If I hear a voice,
I will run.
if I see a human,
I will hide.
We have reason to believe that you are harboring an animal child. Come here, little freak.
Thank you.
Black man trying to help you out. Black man trying to help y'all out and bring and let you know what's going down.
Colorado!
What's in Colorado?
I heard there's a safe place for kids like me.
If you go out there alone, they'll have your head by morning.
Oh, that's these politicians. I did promise them I would meet with them today. No, didn't I? I did. And guess what? They promised me $250 to do it. See, everyone has a price. Although I don't know what they're going to tell me yet. I have no idea what the word is going to be. Huey says this war with Iran is being used to collapse the economy and force a new one. CBDC upon us. Huey, how long you been watching me, bro? Did I not announce that like years ago? And knowing you from this show, I already know your intelligence level. So that means you knew it. More than a few years ago, we knew this. More than a few years ago, we knew this. Okay, so I'm going to tell you this. We definitely knew it was coming because this book here, right? But in this book, Bill Cooper uses, he said there is going to be digitization of, and people won't be able to buy or sell without technology, but he uses a chip, right? As small as a rice grain in this book. Right? So he had the right idea. He just had the wrong technology because at the time, technology was changing, transitioning. So at the time, yeah, it probably was going to be a rice grain a chip the size of a rice grain. However, where we are now, with the ability to communicate between different frequencies, oh, we are far gone. You just need a strong medium, which that's what they're working on right now. You need a reliable medium. If people can get a reliable, if these people can figure out a reliable medium within the body that can be consistently communicated with, the technology has to make a handshake, right? The best element within our body to do that would be carbon, but it would have to be a different. It would have to be the right isotope and allotrope of carbon within our body. And I believe that is what they're working on, which is not inconceivable. It's totally conceivable. It's totally, in my opinion, able to happen. They just have to figure out the calculations of how much, and they're gonna figure it out, because they'll keep killing, sacrificing people to work on until they figure it out. They'll figure it out. Ultimately, we won't need a rice grain. We haven't needed a chip in a long time. You have Elon Musk working on Neuralink. He won't even need to cut nobody's skin open. Check this out. If they can get it in if they can get that medium in everybody willingly, then Bill Gates wins before Elon Musk wins. If Elon Musk can show that his product can help you, it's all about marketing and advertising and Edward Benet's fucking parlor tricks. So you have different people who we consider elite status fighting for the number one slot, like the number one space. That's what's going on. They're not all working together. So when you say the elite, they're not all working together. They may be more elite than you. Huey says William Bill Cooper was warning us about Project 2025 in 1992. So we got to give him some type of, not just him credit, because he died for a reason, right? He died knowing, I'm doing this to try to waken up some Americans, waking up people, and he did. He did. I want to share something with you. Where's it at? Let me find it. Give me a second. Nope. 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 Where the hell is it? Am I going to have to look for it again? Guess I am. Alright, let's close this tab. No, leave that tab open. Leave that tab open. Open up a whole new tab and just look for it. That's crazy. I thought I had it. Alright, give me a second. I was listening to Bill Cooper. No, I was listening to Max. I was listening to Max, and Max started cooking. All right, boom.
Old English, Jew was spelled I-U.
Hold on.
Race today, and laughing behind everyone's back. And consequently, I have watched this over from Sirius, Osiris,
Hold on. He starts cooking.
Jacob. There was no Abraham, Isaac, or
Hold on, Max. This is a young Max. Huh? This is newly diabetic Max, Jordan Maxwell. Bro, he started wilding in this video, like going off. And I was like, damn, Jordan.
consequently, the Hebrews said, since he's always inhibiting you, and since we...
I'm just going to play it from the beginning, because he just wows out this entire video. Much of this stuff I was getting excited about because I had already studied it. But it feels good when someone else understands what you understand and they start talking about it. I'm like, yo.
I'm in fear when I remember that God is just, meaning that you can think whatever you wish, but the bottom line is that
even him saying that, you know what? There's a phrase in the Bible that says the blessings fall on the just as well as the unjust. Has anyone ever tried to figure that out? I know what it means to me. But in order to really understand the blessings fall on the just as well as the unjust, you would have to understand it has nothing to do with the Christian religion. It has everything to do with the science of this world. You have to understand that Christians were Gnostics before Rome turned what the Gnostics were and what they believed in into something totally different that had nothing to do with the brand of Christianity that is now being perpetuated. The Gnostics believed in the power of the mind. They had it was a belief system that was like part what today we would call science. People call it mysticism, right? Because you couldn't see naturally everything they were doing. So a lot of it was just the ability that they had seen the patterns in certain things and said, okay, this is what we believe. We can't articulate it down to the quarks and the protons like some of your future scientists are going to be able to do, but these are the things that we believe. So when they say the blessings fall on the just as well as the unjust, so how can that be? Well, if you was to follow certain laws, you're going to get to the same. It's like, if I follow that road, it don't matter who follows this road. You know how many people every day, how many people we would call good and bad people cross the George Washington Bridge? And yet, some of these people, it is illegal for these people to even exist, let alone what they do. There's perverts crossing that bridge. There's people smuggling drugs across that bridge. But there's people that woke up and say, yo, I'm going out here to change someone else's life for the better crossing that bridge. I'm waking up today. I'm changing my own damn life to cross that bridge. It don't matter. Somebody's going to cross that bridge and make something happen. It's going to lead all of them to the same destination if they want to get to that destination. And not once did the governors of New Jersey or the governors of New York say, hey, you can't cross this damn bridge. You was doing this last night. You can't do that shit, bro. Nope. That is the laws of life. There are actual laws. People have taken these laws and then they have turned it into a religion, a dogmatic religion. This is why when I troll, I know I'm going to run some people off because they don't want me to hear it. So I try, I minimize when I troll. But when I troll your God, I'm really doing it to show you it don't matter. Your God can't fucking do nothing to me. Your God can't do shit to me. There's laws. I'm more concerned about now understanding the laws. I'm more concerned about not the consequences for not following those laws. These laws are not in your history books. These laws is not got nothing shit to do with Noah or Moses. These is just universal laws that I know for a fact work. I will honor those laws more. I'm more concerned with those laws than I am with whatever mystery God that you are concerned with. Because by following those laws, they bring health. They bring finance. They bring peace. They bring civility. So suppose you have an evil person who we would call evil, subjective or objective. And they done got their hands on the laws of finance. But this person is evil as fuck. It don't matter. It's the same road. They taking the same road. You could be the nicest person in the world. It don't fucking matter. Y'all both gonna reach financial success. Both of y'all. Because y'all taking the road of financial success. If y'all both cross, when the sun go down, he could be doing some of the most scrupulous shit in the world. And you could be doing what you do. Yanking your crank. Whatever. Y'all both follow the laws of finance. And y'all both understand the laws of finance. Y'all both gonna succeed. Sorry to tell you that. The blessing's gonna fall on the just as well as the unjust. Sorry, that's just how the universe roll. That's just how the universe roll. So that's how Jordan is starting off this video. Let me bring it back because I think he starts with Alexander Hamilton or somebody like that, or Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson made an interesting comment. I think perhaps one of the most profound things I ever heard anyone say. Thomas Jefferson was quoted as saying,
Pause. Let me just put the chat over here. I got time today, cuz. I got time today. Pop out the chat. Put it over here. Because he starts cooking in this goddamn video. For a fact.
I cringe. I'm in fear when I remember that God is just, meaning that you can think whatever you wish, but the bottom line is that that divine presence in the universe that men have called God is very, very exacting. It has its own agenda. It has its own laws and rules and regulations, and it just really doesn't care what you think or how you view anything. It is the law in the universe. We call it.
He's not lying. I didn't just say what I said because I heard him say it. I said it because I tried it. He is not lying. He's not lying. But you don't have to take my advice. I wouldn't believe me either. Especially if I was in a religion, I would believe what you've been believing. What you talking about? But I'm telling you, you'll find out.
God's law. We talk about the fact that we're told to pray. for God's kingdom to come and his will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. What are we talking about? A kingdom in heaven? Most people are totally misunderstanding the implications of those words. Kingdom in heaven goes back to an ancient concept of astrotheology. There is a profound...
No matter what religion you have, whether you're Islamic, whether you practice with the Judaic, whether you're a Christian, especially the three main, they all are framed in astrotheology. All of it is framed in within, especially when you start and the root of your religion is Judaism. You pretty much died and set to the side right then and there, as far as understanding goes. You may still come out on top financially. You still may come on top as far as your atmosphere being tranquil. This don't got nothing to do with whether you got a good credit score and all that other stuff. It has nothing to do with that. I can promise you it wasn't Allah that got you a good credit score. Personally, Allah did not come sign you down. Just make sure let me get you right. Let me get you right. Let me put you on my shit. Oh, he didn't do that. Neither did Yahweh, and nor did Jesus Christ do any of these things. You did that. You did that. If you wanted to go out and mess it up tomorrow, you could. However, I do think these gods, they do serve as a good reminder of the type of individual that you probably truly want to be in life. And it's a set as a reminder. If I can look towards something, a goal to be towards, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if I keep seeing Allah, if I keep seeing Jesus, then even if I fall to the side, guess what? I could get up, brush myself off, and then keep on my track. And this is why I do think some people they're going to need religion down here. They're not ready for this free, radical, hey, just say who you want to be and then strive to be that person, right? They've never heard of such a concept. It was like, no, but you need religion to do that, bro. What are you talking about? You can't just be who you want on your own. You sound crazy. Yeah, you can. So who do you want to be? Do you want to be a scumbag? I don't want to be, but I am a scumbag. Well, don't be a fucking scumbag, bro. What are you doing? I need God for that. Whatever, bro.
Presence in the divine presence in the universe, as I said, that men have called God. But far too many people have misunderstood what this presence of God really represents. And consequently, going back to Thomas Jefferson's quote, I agree. I am in fear when I remember that God is just. Again, let me clarify that statement. The idea being is that God is just, or that divine principle in the universe is empowered to do its own thing. And it doesn't matter, as I said, how you view or what you might think or what your particular belief systems are. It doesn't matter. That divine presence in the universe is going to do its will. So
one thing I can tell you right now, and I've also tried, you're not going to beat the universal law. You're not going to beat it. Knock it off. I've tried. I've fucking failed. And I don't even want to, for a person that's strong-headed, you're like, nah, I can beat universal law. You cannot beat universal fucking law. It will hammer your ass down to the ground every time. But if you start to see the thing, if you do understand universal law, and then you like, all right, let me try. Instead of going against it because I want to prove how bad this shit is a fraud, let me try it. I'm telling you, you're going to see the difference. And you're going to be like, holy shit, this shit works? Word, bro. I shit you not. So as people start to understand, and especially if they have more time to really understand universal law and then apply it, like not having to work 40 hours a week, having to work 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week. Because the prices are matriculated to a certain price that makes you have to go out and get. There's no room. There's only enough room for, like, if you don't follow the rules of the universal law, it's only like ain't enough room for you to be doing this, that, and the third. The Leviticus priesthood, from my understanding, wanted the people and the members of their community to pay a 10% of what they accumulated, right? 10% of their flock, whatever it was. The church turned this 10% into tithing. There's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. If you took that same concept, but took out the church and applied it to yourself, you would start to see your finances build up. But I know you're scared of your God. If I don't do that, I'll be cursed. And that's what they actually tell you in the church, right? Don't steal God's money. It's nasty work. So you give it. However, I am under the impression if you give, you will get blessed. I don't know how that works. I don't know if it's a universal law. I don't know if it's even true. That part may not even be a universal law. It may be some shit in my head. However, in my patterns, all I can say is in my patterns, if I give thoughtlessly, here, somehow it's like it comes back twofold. That could be energy or it could be some shit I made up, and it's just, that's what I think is happening.
As one teacher said many years ago, since you can't stop God from doing something and you can't influence him to make him do anything, the smart thing for you to do is just find out what the divine principles of the universe are and go along with it. Just understand we don't make decisions in our lives. There's a divine presence that overshadows the earth and all life on it. And consequently, when we begin to wonder why is it that God allows this to happen, or why is it that God doesn't step in to do something, there is a more profound presence in the universe that views things differently than the way we do.
That being said, you may be like, why didn't God stop this? What he's talking about may not deal in personal aspects of life, right? And that's hard for a human being to understand, because you're like, everything you have been taught about your God is personal. It's like, he's everywhere. He knows you. Why would he be everywhere and see you getting molested and not step in? And then the only answer is, don't question God. Everything happens for a reason. It did happen for a reason, because somebody fucking did that shit. That's why it happened. I'm not asking why they did it. Why didn't God step in? You say that's not fair. It's fucking fair. It's more than fair. Why isn't he stepping in right now as these people are poisoning our fucking foods, creating hybrids, creating turbo cancers, giving us fucking poisons as a solution to the atrocities that they've created in their labs? Where the fuck is God? Where? You waste your time. You waste your time praying to your God. You waste your time. I'm telling you. Spent enough time to realize. Understand what I'm about to say to you. Because there's a lot of people that think, oh, foolish people think they understand. No, you're a fucking fool. Before we even get to the foolish people who understand God, and I understand what you're saying, let me just tell you why you're a fucking fool. You're a fool before you call me a fool about talking about your God, who I don't believe in. Let me just tell you about why you're a fool. You're a fool because you won't research what you believe in. This is why I can't respect anything that's about to come out your mouth. If you won't research what you're involved in, to me, that's bad decision making. But to be gung-ho about something you have no knowledge of is preposterous. To stand 10 toes down and be ready to bleed for something you have no idea the true history of is fucking crazy to me. So before you fix your mouth to call someone a fool, I think it is foolish for you to not understand the history. And I know you don't understand the history, because if you did understand the history, then the only reason for you to continue on would be because you consciously made a decision to say, I know the history, but I'm still going to go with it. That's very seldom. Most people that do that, they're doing it at a level where they're getting something from the religion, right? So if you are a priest with a big name and you're being called for lectures and you're getting paid for lectures, or you're getting paid for sermons, and you already have a reputation, I can see these people saying, yeah, but I've made a lifestyle out of this, so I'm not going to change. Nothing's going to change that. It's already fugazi. I might as well just, since I'm going to be down here on earth anyway, I might as well reap from the fugaziness of it all. But for you people that are sitting in the pews that are not getting called in for lectures, it's you I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the pastor or the imam or the rabbi. Most of them already know the true deal. But they've built up these reputations, these personas around that. It's good for their sanity. It's good for their life. It's good for everything. You are the one I'm talking about. Why haven't you researched these things? A lot of people also don't know where to start because this shit gets so heavy. So, as I'm talking to you, I want you to know, you're talking to somebody who spent almost 30 years or more studying this shit. So, yeah, at the age of half of a century old, I'm almost 50. Yes, I understand way more than I did. Well, the main thing I understand is I've been lied to by these religious leaders. I was lied to get me to believe in something that some of them I'm pretty sure thought was the better. It's better for you to believe in this because this has principles. And guess what? You thought I was weak and not weak enough not to have fucking principles? I got principles, bro. Whatever your religion is offering, I already fucking got. Why do I need to? How about I keep this 10%? Stuff that shit in my own savings. How about that? I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. I think that's what I'm going to do. Use it for my own cause. For the day of reckoning. I may need that shit for supplies and resources. Yep.
Unfortunately, our country and the world in general has totally misunderstood divine principles and divine symbols. I have come to have a name around the world for being one who sees symbols and emblems and pattern recognition. And I've done a lot of that. And I have a strong feeling about symbols and the patterns of symbols I'm seeing throughout the world. And if you know how to read the symbols, you can see what's going on here. There is a very powerful occult hidden, and the word occult simply means hidden. There's a very powerful hidden force operating both in the general universe and on the earth also. We call it, for lack of a better term, the will of God. So much of our religious beliefs.
This cannot be the will of God. You had people who claim to be a part of a certain Jewish religion. Well, a certain religion called the Jews. They're quite okay with killing another group of people, children, but they're not in the same group as them. So this is the will of God? Oh, you have to educate yourself. You have to walk away from these goddamn religions. Walk away. Walk away. They're not telling you the truth. I promise you they're not telling you the truth. But you can see on your own. If you had the courage, which you don't. And you will be sacrificed. You've already been sacrificed. You just don't know it. Right? This is why you think the right thing to do is follow everything they say right away. How did that shit work out for you in 2020? Go ahead, tell me. You have no idea who you are and what you are. There's powers that they consistently, and I call them powers, but there's things about you that other groups consistently try to get you to suppress. They consistently try to get you to suppress your intuition. There's a way to build up your intuition to the point where you would think you were a psychic. Give me a second. Here we go. I'm trying to get the right name for what I'm thinking about right now. I want to use the right, and the government has poured millions, if not billions, into this. But I want to get the right name and the author. So I'm reading a book by Lynn Buchanan, and it's called The Seventh Sense. Let me go into the details of this book. Remote viewing. So it's all about words. So what you may call psychic abilities, the government doesn't call it psychic fucking abilities. And if, in fact, if you try to look up government psychic ability, who knows if that database like Google's going to suppress that shit and say, oh, no, that's conspiracy theories, right? You take a different fucking word that means the same goddamn thing. Remote viewing. And Pandora's box. Blow the lid off your fucking search engine. melt your fucking PC tower of all the information that's going to come back. The declassified documents of the United States investing money, probably to this day, in what they call remote viewing. They've created these people that teach you how to remote view. What does that mean? Scientist? Mr. Science Man? Why would the government spend more money on something that actually doesn't fucking work? Since you're so good at logic, Mr. Science Man. So you mean to tell me they've trained people to see things in other countries, see things in other houses, solve crimes using their fucking mind? Yeah. Beloved, I don't know who needs to hear this, but a lot of times I don't have time for small ass conversation. I'm like the loneliest person in the world. I would rather talk to my fucking self than to be talking to people about nothing. Nothing. Every once in a while, I create a time slot for someone to talk to me for a couple of minutes about nothing. But it is nowhere near the ratio that I spend by myself figuring things out logically and rationally. Nowhere near close. Spend most of my time not talking to any fucking body. Just studying, going over what I heard, going over that again, going through it, contemplating it, figuring it out. And a lot of time it is the intuitivity that helps me get my answer. Just intuition. Do not underestimate intuition. And that's what science wants you to do. That's why they're fucking quacks. Because they can only understand the physical matter that they understand. A lot of times they move before they really understand it. They're going to look at you crazy like, yo, you're not with the science? Are you a non-vaxxer? Oh my God, they're not. Motherfucker, they just started vaxxing. They just started doing this shit. What are you talking about? Yeah, but it cured polio. And how many people died before they got it right? Tell the whole fucking story. What are you talking about? You think we would be flying planes today if the Wright brothers didn't have an intuition that shit would work? You think we would have AC or DC without the intuition that shit would work? Think we would be out here playing with radio frequencies and remote controls if someone did not have the understanding of one block, and then they said, but if I add this, let me just see if it'll work. Or do you think people just started making cakes with frosting and all type of shit on it from the very first day that someone learned how to raise these cakes in an oven? Don't underestimate intuition and your natural ability. They're gonna make you feel like a quack, and then they're gonna go and invest millions of dollars into psychic fucking abilities. They just don't want you to call it psychic abilities, because now if they call it that and not call it something else, what that does is open up Pandora's box, and now you start to see what the real Christians were into, the Gnostics. Then you bring it in. They know that's what's going to happen. Then you're going to, wait. So all this whole story about Jesus and all that shit was bullshit? Yeah, that's why Jim L tried to tell you, but you wasn't listening to him. Because they never going to teach you about the Gnostics, who were the pre-Christians before the Christians that you know about. Beloved, you're in church singing about the sun. You have to knock it off. You have to knock that shit off. There's many characters that I fucking like in a lot of different stories and television shows. Right? So, if I wanted to get a post, if I was 16, maybe you would see me with a poster of the Gladiator up here. The Gladiator is someone who Russell Crowe portrays. It's not really fucking Russell Crowe. That would be weird. If I asked my mom to bring home a fucking poster, bring home a poster if you see of Russell Crowe, she's like, oh, the Gladiator? No. Just fucking Russell Crowe. What? Where am I going to find that? They only sell him as the characters he plays. I'm into Russell Crowe. Gay! No. But if I put up a picture of fucking the Gladiator, you don't even see Russell Crowe. That's the crazy shit. You don't never. If I put up a poster of the Gladiator, you don't be like, oh shit, you got the poster of fucking Russell Crowe. That's not what you say. You're like, yo, that fucking movie was crazy, yo. Huh? No one gets a poster of Scarface and really, and I just got it because I fucking love Pacino. No, you got it for the representation of what Al Pacino was representing. Was, yo, I get it. I'm gonna get it or die trying, or die coked out my mind. Either way, I came from nothing and I made it to something. Jesus is a label. Unfortunately, I know you don't want to hear this, but your Jesus didn't come to save not a motherfucking thing. Nothing. He didn't free the slaves. He didn't come to help. And nothing. He just stood by the whole time. I'm not mad at Jesus because I understand what Jesus actually is. It's a cool ass story. And a lot of times when I'm telling you about Jesus, I'm telling you from the perspective of him in character and this story. So I'm like, yo, Jesus said this. And this, I could say Russell Crowe said this. I'm always quoting Scarface, huh? You want me to believe Omar was a stoolie because so. I say this shit all the time. It doesn't, I don't think fucking Scarface is actually going to show up one day like, yo, bro, you've been holding me down, fucking keeping me alive in these YouTube streets, quoting my shit. We got to hang out sometime. No, nigga, you're not real. Huh? And that's hard for a Christian to hear. You're not. People ask me, you're not scared of what, nigga? The boogeyman? But then I understand. Our thinking is so much different. I don't believe in some made up fucking hell that you believe in, that you think if you don't, nigga, you've never done the right thing. You always out here lusting. Everyone is out here lusting, thinking fucking sexual shit. All of the ladies, all of the men. People have just learned how to control their impulses. But you do that for your self-preservation. so that you can preserve your brand as a person, which we call a reputation. That's why you other than that, you probably be freaking off behind a Walgreens right now. So the big journey is, how do I control these urges? How do I just not do or say what the fuck I want to do? Discipline. How do I need that? A framework. Either you build it or they have a pre-made framework that you can get right at the corner called the church, religion. You go in there and they say, hey, this is what I want you to do, man, this week. Work on not jumping in people's DMs, showing dick pics, right? Work on not going on all type of fucking married but cheating sites, right? Work on these things until we meet again next Sunday, right? You don't make it out the fucking church. Some lady done wore the right thing, and guess what? Immediately you get to thinking of waxing that ass. You didn't make it out the fucking church. God damn. Ah! Because you got to want to be that person that say, no. It takes work to keep your mind a certain way. That takes work. That don't got shit to do with you going. I will not waste my time getting dressed up, going to some fucking bird head ass church, talking about the sun all day long. I like the music. I don't really like the people. The people are pious. And they're fucking phony and pretenders, and they're not thinkers. And I hate that part about life. They're not intellectually deserving of my presence. They're not. Who do you want to be? God damn it. Answer that question. Who do you want to be? Now be that person. And you're going to fail. It's not going to, but that's going to tell you, damn, I ain't do that right. All right. Guess what? Just like that, you're going to just, all right, let me try again. And eventually you'll get to be that person. But you work for that. You work for that. Don't give no glory to that to some fucking made up being. You worked for that shit. Give an honor to yourself, god damn it.
And systems that we have accepted are, in point of fact, concepts and ideas coming out of the mind of men, and has very little to do with the actual profound presence of the divine laws that govern the universe. And nations have come and gone, kings have come and gone, princes, rulers, bankers, and no one seems to have ever got the point that we're not here to serve ourselves. We're not here to aggrandize ourselves. We're here to learn something, because when we leave here, and we will be doing that rather soon, and when we leave here and we go to this other place, wherever it is that we leave to, we need to be able to know and understand the principles that we have learned about the divine creation. All of this I'm saying to preface the comment that there is a actual, real, and legitimate laws that govern the universe, and it has nothing to do with our spiritual or our religious convictions. It has its own agenda. Unfortunately, the Romans didn't realize, they didn't know. They thought they understood. The Greeks, the Babylonians, Sumerians, the Egyptians, the British. All of these great nations have gone under because they didn't know how to read the symbols. And consequently, we are in this country now floundering and falling apart and being subjugated as slaves because we don't know how the spirit works.
But believe me, there is a very powerful spirit at work. Something is going to happen soon. And it has nothing to do with what we're doing. It's going to have to do with the divine presence. And consequently, I wanted to show you how symbols have been used and misused. We are today bombarded by religious institutions and television and radio and churches telling us that we should celebrate certain holidays, we should support particular political movements. My mother once used to say that there's never been a political movement in the world that wasn't a little religious. And there's never been a religious movement in the whole earth that wasn't a little political. Politics and religion are actually one and the same thing. Because if you follow the works of Zechariah Sitchin, we find that in the ancient world, the kings represented both the temporal power, the power of government, but they also represented God. And we still are faced with people who believe that their word is God's law. It is absolutely amazing to me to see how many supposedly intelligent, enlightened people are deceived and brought under the influence of people who would present themselves as authorities in the world. Consequently, mankind is not being led, they're being misled. We don't have national leaders, we got misleaders. My friend Dick Gregory, who I love, Dick Gregory always says, the national leaders, you're just getting the government that the people represent. We get the kind of government we deserve. The leaders of this country are big and what we are small. We cheat on a little something here and there. They cheat on nations and kings, but it doesn't matter. Cheating is cheating. Lies are lies. It doesn't matter. But the thing that bothers me more than anything is watching how religions have misrepresented the divine presence, have misrepresented and deceived people into supporting things which is nothing more than political and financial institutions. I mean, my God, where do you think, just looking at words and terms should tell you something. The very word church, for instance, is an English word. C-H-U-R-C-H is an English word. Church comes from a Scottish word, kirk, K-I-R-K. Remember the old hymn, The Kirk of the Valley? Kirk is Scottish for church in English, but Kirk goes back, incidentally, that's why you have Captain Kirk and the good ship Enterprise, Captain Kirk. Go back to Captain Kirk, or Kirk being church in Scottish, is traced back to a goddess in Rome, Circe. And the Roman goddess Circe can be traced back to an even ancient or more ancient goddess, the goddess Circe in Greece. So the lineage is Circe in Greece, becomes Circe in Rome, becomes Kirk in Scotland, becomes church in English. Now in the ancient Greek world, Circe, Mother Kirk, Mother Church, Mother Circe, look it up in the encyclopedia, Circe was a goddess who was able to hypnotize people, bring them into her house, turn them into animals, and live off of them. And this is precisely what the church has done. It has hypnotized people, taken their nationality away, taken their individual creativity and spirituality away, and brought them into a corporate enterprise, and consequently has turned them into animals. And consequently today the animals are killing each other all over the world because of church, religion, philosophies. And this concept of God's chosen people, you know, we're told that in the Hebrew religion that that was the original monotheistic religion. I have a very high respect for holy writings, for the Bible, for the Old and New Testament, but I'm also a student of history. And one can read very simply that the Jews were never a monotheistic people, ever. The Hebrew religion was a Heno, spelled H-E-N-O, henotheistic religion. Henotheistic is not monotheistic. Henotheistic means choosing one God out of many. So consequently, we're told that the Hebrew people were the worshipers of one God. Absolutely not. When you get into the background of theology and religion, you're going to find, as I have found, that Judaism is a main foundation for Western civilization, and that's why I'm talking about it. Judaism is the most eclectic religion on the face of the earth, in my opinion. I don't think there's another religion or a philosophy on the earth that has collected more from other institutions and from other peoples and amalgamated it into one religion. It's fascinating when you begin to see where these ideas and concepts come from in the Bible and in the Old Testament Hebrew. For instance, the Hebrews at one time were worshipers of the moon god. This is why in the Vatican and in France, in the Louvre Museum, the carvings and the sculptures of Moses having the lunar horns. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but Moses in the Vatican has horns. Why? It's because the horns were always referred to as the lunar horns. It was always a symbol for the moon god. Why? Because the moon in its lower quarter is like a horns. And consequently, this is why American Indian chiefs all had horns as the chiefs, and the Vikings wore horns. These were lunar worshiping peoples, the American Indians, Vikings, and the Hebrews. The moon god in Arabia, his name, the old Arabian moon god, was called Sin, S-I-N. That was his name, Sin. And in the ancient Arab...
So Jordan says Arabian moon god, but the sin goes back further than Arabia. Let's keep going.
Arabic language, a mountain is Ai. So you put the god of the mountain,
Ai, or A-Y, which was pronounced I.
the old moon god of the mountain. They still have the mountain of the moon in Africa today. But when you put this Sin Ai together, it becomes Sinai. Mount Sinai it's the Sin, the moon god, and his mountain is Ai in Arabic. So Mount Sinai, there's nothing holy about Mount Sinai. It's the worship of the moon god. And consequently, this is why the Jewish holidays are after sundown, because that's when the moon comes out. As opposed to, of course, on Sunday, when Christians are worshiping, and Sunday, on the day of the sun. So
it's all astrotheology. It's all astrotheology. I'm sorry to let you know. It's heartbreaking to find out all those Sundays you spent, all those Saturdays you spent, all those Fridays you spent in your religious institutions, and it was just different factions of control vying for power. If you ever get tired of playing with yourself, I know the persona. I see so many people that's committed to the persona that they've created, and the prestige and the reputation they get. They could never walk away from that shit. And this is why I'm not too close to any of these people. I don't fit in their equation, and they for goddamn sure don't fit. They don't fit in mine.
Consequently, all holidays are after sundown because of Moses was the leader of the moon cult. Mount Sinai, Sin Ai. Then there's a time in the Hebrew history, in the Old Testament history, where the planet Saturn became the dominant deity for the Jewish people. Saturn, very.
By the way, the Jewish people still worship in the synagogue. Crazy. You didn't even have the audacity to change the name of your fucking temple. Bananas.
Important. I would suggest that the planet Saturn is the most important subject you're ever going to be introduced to. Saturn plays a profound, significant part in our country today, in the political situation that this country's in. The planet Saturn is profoundly important to understand. He's referred to as the Lord of the Rings. They still make movies about him. Lord of the Rings. Consequently, Saturn was a very important god to the Hebrews and to the Phoenician Canaanites. And the Phoenician Canaanites actually gave birth to a group of people in Northern Europe called the Celtic Druids. Druidism is actually a Phoenician Canaanite theology. It's a Phoenician Canaanite, meaning Druidism in Northern Europe and in Western Europe in general actually can be traced back through Rome, back to Greece, back into what we call today Israel and that area, Druidism. And as I've said before, one of the most important symbols of the Druidic Phoenician Canaanite religion is a magic wand. You know, like Merlin the magician with his magic wand. Magic wands were always made out of the wood of the holly tree. It was made out of Hollywood. And this is exactly why we're still being worked the magic on us out of Hollywood. It is a Druidic, Phoenician Canaanite symbol of actual legitimate magic that's being worked on this country. Consequently, let's get back to the planet Saturn for a moment. Saturn is an extremely important planet symbolically in world religions today. The wars that are going on in the Middle East definitely connected to the planet Saturn. And most people have no idea in the world what's going on, but the people who run this world, they're very well aware of the symbols and what these things mean. Saturn was referred to as I said, the Lord of the Rings. Women were told in ancient Israel to listen to their god, so they wore an ear ring. Men were to get married before their god, so they wore a wedding ring. Consequently, the kings were to get to be crowned before their god Saturn, so they wore the round corona, the ring, Lord of the Rings. Consequently, black was the color associated with the planet Saturn. We have different planets and different colors associated with the different planets coming from the ancient world, but black was the color associated with the planet Saturn. So therefore, all the priests would wear black robes, just as Catholic priests wear black robes, judges wear black robes, rabbis wear black robes. Young people graduating from university and college, they come out wearing a black robe. Black robes, somebody better go back and do your homework. You know what a black robe represents and why judges wear black robes? And consequently, when you graduate from university, it's a Saturnalian event. Saturn is the great teacher, the inhibitor. Incidentally, Saturn was referred to as the inhibitor, one who holds you back and teaches you a lesson. So he holds you back and inhibits you and inhibits your movement. He arrests your movement. So consequently, the Hebrews said, since he's always inhibiting you, and since we go to Temple on Saturn's day, why don't we just do nothing on Saturday? And that's why today there's something called a Sabbath, in which you do nothing from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown.
Cold-blooded. Damn. Remember I told you he started cooking? He started cooking, champ. Oh.
It's called Sabbath. But Sabbath is actually based on a Phoenician word, Shabbat. And Shabbat is based on an old ancient Sumerian word for Saturn. Saturn was called Shabbat, and the worship of Saturn was called the Sabbath.
Crazy. being that I found this sin god, I found sin in a couple of places. I found sin, first of all, in this book of the seals, Kissinger's Legacy reprint. Really? So Henry Kissinger knew of this fucking book? So he must have knew the truth. Oh, they got all type of gods in here that you want to get your filthy hands on. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Anyway, I found sin in here. He's been on some seals that they've used in history. That archaeologists have found the seals and they've categorized him and they found him. Let's see. I saved this page here. Is he on this page? No, this is just a random page. I put a picture of my family in. Then I went to Harvard Library and I found him over there. I found academics speaking of the moon god sin. So I said, okay, they have a record of this moon god sin. He existed in their culture. I'm not going to say he existed in real life, but the idea of this. So what Jordan is saying is correct. Now he's teaching us because he is a pupil of Manny P. Hall, and Manny P. Hall was the expert. What's the word? I'm looking for a word, and I use it all the time. And for right now, I keep that the pronunciation of this word is not coming to me, which is crazy. I use this word all the time. However, the root word, when you want to get to the root word, etymologist. That's the word I'm looking for. He's an expert etymologist. Well, he was anyway. Manny P. Hall. And when Manny P. Hall died, not only did Jordan Maxwell visit him on a regular and go to his house all the time, but when he died, when Manny P. Hall died, he left a library to Jordan Maxwell. Just in case you're wondering, well, why are you listening to this fucking crackpot? I'm listening to this crackpot not only because I can go and look up what he's saying for myself, which I have done, but I also deem Manny P. Hall to be credible. And the more I look up what Jordan says and doesn't take at face value, I deem him to be as credible. Therefore, you do what you like, but I think he's teaching you. I know he's teaching you right now. So, we went from the moon to Saturn on you. And he didn't even leave the religion yet. However, there's other religions that have incorporated this Saturn within their religion. Let me let him finish cooking, though. Let him cook.
So consequently, when you hear that there's a very important occasion, the Sabbath, it's very important if you're worshiping the planet Saturn. Wake up. It's very important if you're worshiping the moon to have your holidays after sundown. Saturn was referred to as El in the old Phoenician language, E-L. El.
Hello. Hello. So we know that the Canaanite pantheon, the head of the pantheon, the Canaanite pantheon was El. We know that. In fact, when the Hebrews do write about this El, they speak of El Elyon. But we know, if we go back, see, Hebrew history, and that's just some made up. The Hebrews made up a bunch of shit, right? Based off of histories that they had heard while in captivity. right, so they created their own thing. Fine. But when you go back to study these other civilizations that were actual civilizations and not fucking gypsy nomads just wandering the earth and getting captured, and you guys didn't even have fucking borders. You didn't even have time to settle down in an area and get to know yourself. How are you giving sound advice on how to become anything? You have not sat in one location and became somebody. And in fact, you have gotten kicked out of more countries than any other group of people on the planet. And in fact, how many times did you get kicked out of England, France? Just out here winging that shit. For us to be following your framework is nuts today. However, you got to get this teaching wise hot. Jordan is telling us that Saturn was referred to as L. Read.
Was the planet Saturn. Today, if you are promoting the worship of Saturn, you're referred to as an elder. How did you get to be an elder? You got elected. How did you get elected, and what comes from being elected? Well, you become now one of the elites. You're one of the elites because you're now elevated in society. Look up these words and these terms. Consequently, you have priests and ministers roaming around with their black robes and talking about how we should support Israel. The ancient Phoenician Canaanite peoples, called the Hyksos, were in Egypt. The Hyksos people were in Egypt. Today we refer to them as the Hebrew people. And at the time of the...
When the Hyksos were exiled from Egypt, there's evidence in the history books that they had roamed the earth, causing all type of mayhem. And some people called these people the Hyberu. Now, it doesn't take me long to rationalize that these same Hyberu, this pronunciation of Hyksos, I had a friend come from Central America. You know, that man has never called, he's passed away, but he never called me my name. He's never said Jamel. Good friend of mine. You understand? This man would have murdered for me. He knows my name. He just didn't choose to say my name. I've never heard him say my name. He spoke broken English in the form of a patois. What he called me didn't even come close to my goddamn name. So it's not like he's speaking Spanish. He called me Jooms. My name is Jamel. He called me Jooms. And even when he tried, it came out Jumel. Not Jamel, Jumel. And I guess the extra syllable used to piss them off. So it's like Jooms. That's it. That's it. So, is it far-fetched for me to believe that Hyksos turns to Hyberu and Hyberus turn to Hebrew? Not at all. Not at all.
Hyksos were in Egypt. Isis, I-S-I-S, was a goddess in Egypt. I-S-I-S, Isis. And consequently, one of the pharaohs came along, I think it was Tutankhamun's father, King Pharaoh Akhenaten, and he changed the whole worship of Isis, female divine wisdom, to the new god, the sun. And he called the sun Amun-Ra, from which we get the word sun ray, Amun-Ra, Amun-Ra. So now you have Amun-Ra or Amun-Ra. Incidentally, this is why Christians say amen in church, because the sun was called Amen-Ra, Amun-Ra.
But don't tell him that, Jordan, because where's the sense in that, right? Why are we still ending all our prayers with Amen? Right? They never even took out the goddamn Amen. Disrespectful. Disrespectful. Never even took it out. You wasn't even worth them trying to take it out, and no, leave it. Crazy.
And the Egyptians said nobody can talk to God. No one ever has seen God, but you can talk to his son, who will take the message to him. And so therefore, at the end of their prayers in Egypt, they would say Amen, because it was Amun-Ra, the God's son, the light of the world, who takes the message to his father. So consequently, we had Isis. And then we have the complete destruction of the worship of Isis, and brought in a new religion, as I said, Amun-Ra. And then when the Hyksos moved north into Palestine, they encountered the planet Saturn.
Let's just stop right there and really think about Israel. Is short for Isis, Ra short for Amun-Ra, and El short for El Elyon, head of the Canaanite pantheon El, also aka Saturn. Oh, it's diabolical and deep when you really get into it. Most people don't have time to get into it. So it's just easier to be a sheep.
Saturn, as I said, was called El. If you take the I-S, R-A for Ra, and E-L, it becomes Israel. Israel is Isis, Ra, and El.
I didn't know he was going to go into my bad. I didn't know he was going to say that. I didn't do it to be redundant. I apologize. Let me let him cook.
Three names of the esoteric languages of the world for the sun, for the ancient gods of the ancient world. So when you're going to send your money and give all of your support to Israel, just remember you're supporting a country that is filled, that's why it's called the Holy City. Jerusalem is referred to as the Holy City. Religion that has ever been on the face of the earth has come out of Jerusalem. Moon worship, Saturn worship, sun worship. My God, that whole area is filled with lunacy. It is today the center of world lunacy. And the secret societies and fraternal orders out of England, France, Germany, and America are manipulating the peoples of this world to support something called the reestablishment of Solomon's temple. If you understand that Solomon is simply the three words in the ancient languages for the sun. Sol, S-O-L, is Latin for the sun. Om is Hindu for the sun. And On, O-N, is the city of the sun in Egypt. The Greeks call it Heliopolis, but the Egyptians...
It's crazy. When you go to look this up, not only going to find out that what he's talking about is true and accurate, you're going to find out more. You're going to find out more than you bargained for. You're going to find out that the ancients believed that the sound of the sun hit a certain frequency that represented right? And even today, you see some shows that kind of use this I don't know if we're going to call it a mantra, but this sound to invite a presence of tranquility and relaxation. Maybe it is over dramatized in a lot of shows, but we've seen this. We've seen Om. We've seen this with monks use this same Om sound frequency because it was regarded as the sound of the sun. Some of the things you look up, you're like, nah, don't tell me this, man. I ain't want to know that. There's some people today that they're going out their way to... I do a video and they do a video to show me I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. Right? This is a sidebar. This is because I'm telling them what they are a part of was not built on foundational accuracy. It was built on more of a propagandist manipulation. What hurts me the most is that this is black rhetoric, and I'm trying to get my people to understand. But my people perish for lack of knowledge, so they rather go on continuing spewing out fallacies. Why? Because they've already created these images and these personas around this type of rhetoric. Who am I going to be now? Do I have the courage to say, hey, I was wrong? Jamel introduced some information that was more accurate. Now what do you do with your fucking turbans and your tar bushes and your fucking bullshit fraternity regalia? What do you do? What do you do with all this stuff now? It doesn't matter how many videos you do spewing out fake information. If the person really wanted to go look up true facts, it's always going to land on everything I'm talking about. I don't push conversations to make them go in the area that I want them to go. I present, if something new came out that we could validate, and it was like, hey, actually, I have to consider that. I have to consider that information. Most people don't have the courage to do that.
It's called the city of the sun on. That's why you flip a light switch on. Because On was a city of the sun that brought light into the world.
That's a fact.
So Sol, Latin, Hindu, On, Egyptian. Put it together, it becomes Solomon or Solomon. There was no King Solomon. There was no King David. I even asked a Rabbi Marvin Entelman many years ago. He's probably gone now. But many years ago, he was the president of the American Rabbinical Association. And I asked him, I said, Rabbi Entelman, tell me the truth. Did these people who actually in the Old Testament...
I got to stop. I got things to do. So... and my numbers are being suppressed anyway. But we might finish this conversation because I don't really think we got into what I wanted to get about, which is you being an individual IP address or a node within this big network that they're building. So that being the case, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel. I don't know. I'm thinking about not destroying this channel. Let me take this meeting and I'll let you know. If you still see my channel here later on, then I didn't delete it. Peace out.